Before we start, good morning, little D's. This video is going to be called Putting Things in Perspective, like this water pipe. It's completely legal in most places to smoke tobacco, especially when one wakes up. In my country, also, if there were marijuana coming from this water pipe, completely legal. And this doesn't promote anything but the bad habit of mine. Capiche? Understood? I think so. Only smart people watching this video. Because what I'm going to do is break down the biggest events of each decade, starting with 2020. Trying to put things in perspective, at least for myself, of how far we've come as a collective. Because just last year, I can go, when I search in Google, I was just doing this and I thought it would make a very interesting video. I search in Google, biggest event of 2020, and I scroll down a little bit, and it's, there's these little things that drop down that I find very useful, to where it says, people also ask, what big event happened in 2020? And I get something from a news article, or some listicle, those articles that are basically lists, and it basically tells me on January 3rd, 2020, the US killed a bunch of people with a drone strike. So 2020 already, starting off with the US using drones firmly, or at least heavy enough to be recognized by the news and globe as using drones, machines, to fight other countries instead of people. Just shortly after, we had in our side of the world, tragic helicopter crash? Because I'm pulling up another article right now, and another big thing that happened in 2020 is we had another pandemic, probably starting as an epidemic. January 9th, the WHO announced that a deadly coronavirus had emerged from Wuhan, China. In a matter of months, the virus had spread across the globe to more than 20 million people, resulting in at least 751,000 deaths. Over on our side of the globe, we wanted to impeach a president, the people. I don't think it happened. I don't follow U.S. politics as well because I'm in Canada. I know about them because I used to be around the news a lot. Another thing famous, Harvey Weinstein. A bunch of Me Too, 2020 famous for, again, a revolution of people standing up for themselves. What's the right word? People persecuted by things we don't like to talk about. Sexual assault, racism, police brutality. All these things were dealt with as a collective. Because collectively, globally, we're using social media now more than ever to connect. I can go on Twitter right now and talk to someone in China who knows English fluently. I could talk to someone randomly on Omegle that might happen to be in China. There might be some service like that. I just say China because I'm not that good at geography. I could talk to someone in Russia that speaks English fluently. Just because they want to speak to a stranger. That's how connected we are in 2020. We dealt with Black Lives Matter, specific police brutality against our black brothers and sisters. I'm white, so that's a touchy subject. But 2020, eh? Murder hornets. Now we're going to go 10 years into the past, 2010. Just to put things in perspective. Because I see searching biggest event of 2010. Giant earthquake. The Olympic Games. Uber started. A new rise in starting businesses, entrepreneurship, or something like that, easier than ever. Because YouTube also became a thing, I think 13 years ago, 12, I don't know, quite a while, that they started letting people monetize their own videos. Also, it says right here, top 10 things that define the 2010s. Going green. But a rise than ever of people conscious of their effect on the planet as a whole. People, Facebook became a thing in my life, everyone else's life. And we were connecting citywide, nationwide, province-wide, globally, eventually. I could, if I knew the language, I could have watched content coming straight out of the opposite side of the globe. 2010s, politics, becoming more social than ever. Eventually, Donald Trump in the future will, a president talking to his people, his entire people, sometimes making a fool of himself, because authenticity is of high value these days in 2021. I think 2010 was the biggest shift so far in collective consciousness, because now as the world is all isolated in 2021, we're facing isolation as we're awaiting a vaccine for this deadly coronavirus. We're also able to connect with each other more than ever. I was able to watch, I was able to get like an almost red carpet premiere-like experience for Zack Snyder's Justice League because we're all isolated. For me, it felt like, because it was live, and I have a vivid imagination, I was able to imagine I'm just in a room with Kevin Smith right there, Zack Snyder right here, and I think his wife? I'm not sure. But it's a very personal experience. I'm right here. There's a big person who made the movie. There's a guy who's going to know what questions to ask him because this guy's a fan of this guy. She was just kind of chilling here, adding extra stuff because I think she does something. But I also think she may have been his wife. I'm not sure. But it was more personal than ever in 2021. Back in the day, that there was no technology and social connection on that grand of a level for that to happen. For a director of a movie to sit down with that for however many people are tuning into this movie premiere. Because after that, I was able to go and purchase the movie to watch in my own home. And for, I don't know, a shy person like me who doesn't entirely like loud noises and crowds, like, I'll go to a movie theater myself and have a better time than arranging a get-together and stressing out about all that stuff. You know, people will call me odd for having gone to Civil War and Batman vs. Superman by myself. And I had a great time. I walked out and walked back in of BVS. Civil War, the whole crowd we were all yelling at certain points in excitement. I remember, since we're all more social and aware of each other these days, now more than ever, Civil War was amazing. Because we, as fans, all know the origin and base of Spider-Man. When in Civil War, it said on the screen, Queens, New York, there was a collective, oh, excitement in the theater of a certain part of the crowd knowing that Spider-Man is going to come on screen. Those in the know, also, if they're aware of the crowd, could also hear stuff in that moment afterwards where, why are they all excited? And then there's more excitement in the crowd because there's a certain part of the crowd that's like, I know what's coming. Oh, Spider-Man. Oh, that's Spider-Man. You know? And then the rest of the crowd that doesn't know Spider-Man is from Queens and is going to be in the movie, it's just like, Spider-Man, what? And then we're going to want to see the movie again. Because that first viewing, we're all like, wow, look, he's on screen. We haven't seen him on screen in a while. That's so cool. That was the excitement of Civil War. BVS, I don't know, the fight scene was cool between Batman and Superman, but I don't know, the rest was kind of meh, going by crowd reaction. Anyways, I had to stall a bit because we're at a triggering decade. 2000. What historical events happened in the 2000s? Video games. Wow, Wii Sports was the decade's best-selling console video game. I remember having that in places I went. The ability to look at a screen and box someone. Realistically. Almost. It was the beginning of making the idea of virtual reality a thing. Because if you have a vivid imagination, that boxing match with these things in your hand is going to feel very real to you, because it felt pretty real to me. Because just 1 year later, 2001, this side of the world faced 9/11. 25,000 injuries, 2,000, I don't know, countless deaths. 2 skyscrapers. It didn't seem real. I remember being in school. They like told us about it. And like as a kid, I'm 27, so 19 years ago, I'm like, I don't know, like 6. I'm in this little school where we're gathered in, I think we gathered in the library to watch the news or something. Or they like, I don't know. We had like a gathering because it was, even now I'm feeling it. It was, because as an adult it hits you differently, but as a kid you're hearing all this confused, and later on we're lighting candles for some reason. Something big just happened. Like, or 8-year-old Damien. I'm pretty comprehending, but like, not entirely of the scope of 25,000 injuries. Almost 2,000 dead. It's a big year. And like, I don't know, it almost like brought some tears. Because you remember where you are when big stuff happens. Because I can go back, and I remember where I was when Michael Jackson died. I remember where I was when I learned about this. Since our brain has like a negativity bias, I wasn't as affected by Michael Jackson passing, as you can see, as this. Just, wow. It's like a movie. Looking back as a kid, I don't think I comprehended it at all. We watched it on the news all day. I went home after school that day, and it was... I imagine all the parents everywhere were just... These are the World Trade Centers. We had like an economic collapse, turn of the century or something in the 1900s, after a world war. We think everything's fine, you know? That's going to drive a public mad to a certain extent. As someone who experienced this as a kid, it's understandable why there was so many conspiracies and grief, like collective grief, to where, I don't know, I guess we needed a scapegoat, so I don't know. Thinking back to where our troops went afterwards, and the collective response of, maybe it was just the government, maybe it was some terrorists, maybe it was this, maybe it was that. It's just, I don't know, I can't imagine that happening anywhere. And since every country, every continent is brought up as children, at least I know I was, to sing an anthem and pledge allegiance to a flag and do this and do that until we're Canadian, American, African, Russian, Asian, North American, South American. So, I don't know, it's, to me, it almost seems like a lot of the conspiracy theories, because of the collective grief from at least this one big event, because I think I'm going to stop this video here, because, wow, doing the decades, it's been a rough turn of the century, when you think about it, for the news. Everyone hearing the same thing, having the same reactions. Because one of my things I've been saying recently, that I realize everybody's the same but different. And like, I also realize I'm not the first person to say this, I'm just repeating it loudly. It's, with the news, world, everything now more than ever at my fingertips. Everything at my fingertips. I can record you. I can record myself. I can share that to the world. I can play a game with someone, anyone in the world. I can talk to someone, anyone in the world. Those are capabilities we all have, collectively. It's just after that decade, it's just, you start thinking of people like John Lennon and all these stuff that is going to come up, that if I do this putting things in perspective series further, it's just, especially after that, 25,000 injuries. The whole world saw that. Like, 2001, the whole world saw that. The reaction, the news was there. When the towers went down, we were there. I can look up a video. A man took from his window of the tower, a plane going into the tower. Now, a person that couldn't accept it, what they were seeing, wouldn't understand the technological difference and the frame rate, and put some conspiracy theories together. Because what I think some of the conspiracy theories are about, like the CGI plane and this, is just, oh, the frame rate on your little handheld camera wasn't as good as my handheld camera. So, you missing a wing on your camera when we play back the video, there's a 20-year difference in our technology. I could take a better video on this phone than you could take on your handheld device. So, I don't know. I want to do more of this video series idea, putting things in perspective, but I'm already like, the world is here. How are we all still kind of the way we are sometimes? Even myself included. It's like, I'm gonna get to like the 80s, the 70s, the 60s from my Canadian perspective, because I'm gonna see some world things, but they're not gonna hit me like Hurricane Katrina. I wasn't anywhere near that. That didn't affect me. 2000s, a global recession. I was a kid. The Iraq War. It didn't affect me the way it affects the adults in my life. The deployment of resources in all aspects. I still don't even fully comprehend all this stuff, or the effects of the past. Going to this decade in particular, where do you go from here? Like, you hit 9/11 and you're like, that happened. Who, what, when, where, why? How? Wow. And like 2021, 2020, I think we all finally got over the grief of that. I didn't hear any news about a special. I didn't hear any news of a new conspiracy video. Like I'm into conspiracies and stuff as a storyteller, but I didn't hear anything about 2020 or 9/11 in 2020 or 21, because the loose way I pay attention to everything with social media and everything, it seems collectively we've gotten over a lot of stuff in 20 years. I just imagine going further back and seeing how much more was there? Some world wars? A Great Depression? How long would this video be if I go back to 1990? Do I keep on going? 1890? Because next year, wow, what will happen? I don't know. We'll get there. I'm going to stop at the 2000s. Great idea, Damien. Congratulations. Put an end card. I know you're tired. Hopefully you watch this back. This is 26 minutes. It's a good idea, though. You can sort some stuff out. And bring up 9/11 again. I'm going to have to use some clickbaity title. Just to draw in an audience. Or just keep on making the titles I'm making. Because I'm going to probably call this Putting Things in Perspective. Done. Hey, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, notify. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all socials. I am Damien Robot. Checking in. I will be back. Maybe different end cards. Peace and